Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Given the context of all of this channel's uploads so far, you might assume that Magic the Gathering is by far my favorite hobby and source of entertainment. And yeah, that's kinda true, at least for the past couple years. But I do have plenty of other passions and interests. I don't watch a lot of TV, especially from streaming services, which I often find chaotic, eclectic, and overly greedy towards its own subscribers. But the exception to this is the streaming service Dropout TV, formerly College Humor. Dropout is home to tons of mostly improv comedy content like Dimension 20, Breaking News, Make Some Noise, and probably its most famous series, Game Changer. Game Changer, hosted by Sam Reich, is a variety game show where each episode is a different unexpected challenge for its 3 or more contestants. I'm obsessed with the show, and I am super excited for the premiere of its 8th season later this year. Apparently, this year Dropout is also premiering a home game version of the series for people to play, which I am definitely going to support on Kickstarter when it launches. But last fall, I actually designed my own fan card game version of Game Changer, and I decided now's a good time to show off the designs before I get a chance to see what the actual game designers chose to create. While I designed the card game's rules and the mechanics of individual cards, the card frame and art was made by Reddit user Gioferomacademio. They made these cards look so much more professional and vibrant than what I could accomplish on my own, so thanks again, you rock. So my Game Changer card game is relatively simple, at least in comparison to something like Magic the Gathering. Each player draws 5 cards from the deck at the start of the game. At the beginning of each player's turn, that player draws a card. Some cards earn you points, and the player with the most points wins at the end of the game. This is typically how most episodes of Game Changer resolve. At the end of the last rounds, the player with the most points wins. So it's a perfect way to track who's winning the game. I chose 7 rounds to be the end point of the game, at least in the basic rules, but players can easily adjust the number to have games last as many or as few turns as they want. So now for the fun part, let's show off a few cards. First up, we got Jacob's Key Blast. Jacob's Key Blast is a card that says, Jacob's Key Blast says, to play this card, you must lose 1 point. Choose a player. That player loses 3 points. This is a reference to one of the Sam Says episodes, where Jacob Wysocki pretends to be a Super Saiyan, gets blasted by a laser blast, and then returns fire with blasts of his own. I thought this would be a pretty cool card to put in the deck as a means of gaining points, but also losing points in order to do so. So a bit of a trade card to weigh the benefits of. Next up, we've got I've Been Here the Whole Time. If this card is in your starting hand, you may reveal it to your opponents to gain 1 point. If not, play this card to draw 1 card. This one I definitely took inspiration from some Magic mechanics, so you can play it in your starting hand for a cool effect, but you can also just cycle it, essentially. You can discard it into the discard pile to gain another card. Then we have The Deed to Vic's House. This was from the first episode of Season 7, 1 year later. This card says, choose a player, look at that player's hand, and take 1 card from it. Put the chosen card into your hand. This is another pretty basic effect, but a fun one. You get to steal something from another player's hand. Next we have Trapped in the Green Room. Choose a player. That player skips their next turn. If able, until their next turn, that player must go stand in another room until called back in for their turn. Once again, a fairly simple but useful effect, but I tacked on a physical challenge alongside it. Some Magic Silver bordered cards have physical challenge effects, but they wouldn't usually fit in the regular base rules of the game. But Game Changer is inherently silly. It's a comedy TV show. You have lots of various antics going on, and so I wanted to make sure that I included a little bit of that whenever possible. Next up we have Iffy's Box Business. This is a card inspired by the episode Deja Vu. Each player chooses point or box. Each player that chooses point gets a point. Each player that chose box gets to shuffle a card from the discard pile into the deck. This card supplies a choice to each player playing the game. Some players who might be further ahead use the box to get a useful card back from the discard pile, whereas it gives players that are behind a chance to earn more points. Next we have I Cannot Win. This is a card inspired by the famous episode where Brennan Lee Mulligan cannot win. Choose a player. That player loses 1 point. If that player's name is Brennan Lee Mulligan, they lose the game instead. Once again, a sillier effect is tacked onto a more normal, boring effect. You could play this card to just make whoever's ahead lose a point and get closer to you supplanting them on the leaderboard. But I am thinking about, if I continue this project, having cards that change the name of a player, so you have to refer to them as a certain name of a person, and this would be a good example of how to do that. Next we have Into the Minds of Cerro Gordo. Choose a card at random from another player's hand. That player puts that card on the bottom of their deck. This is sort of a different version of the same effect we saw with the Deed to Vic's New House, where you are discarding things from your opponent's hand so they can't play it, but this time instead of putting it into your hand, you put it on the bottom of the deck. So it's essentially lost. You're not getting that back for a long time. Next we have Bird Fact. When you play this card, tell everyone a bird fact you know. You get 1 point for each other player that did not know your bird fact. Pretty simple. You're just got a chance to earn some extra points from people at your table, depending on what kinds of bird knowledge you have. Finally, we have Random Podium Inspection, once again inspired by the Deja Vu episode. Each player reveals a card from their hand to you. If a revealed card is unsleeved, its owner loses 1 point. This is a pretty simple effect. Once again, you get some inside information on what other people have in their hands, but a sillier effect is activated if anyone has their cards sleeved, which is not a mechanic currently with any of the cards, but when I posted this on Reddit, I did get some comments from people saying that perhaps you should have a deck of sleeves with you when they play the game, and some card effects might reward you by letting you sleeve some cards to work with this effect. I hope you enjoyed seeing these cards I made. I might do a follow-up video in the future to compare my designs to those of the official Game Changer board game when we know a bit more about it with the Kickstarter release. If that sounds like fun to you, please like this video, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks so much for watching.